Know if
Good morning, Julia.
Good morning, My-Liis. How are you doing today?
I'm not too bad, but I know you've been having a little bit of a stressful start to your day.
Yeah, like
Kind of.
technology is not collaborating with me this morning. I'm trying to place orders and it's just not going through. And, anyways, it is what it is. I'll figure it out. I had a hell of a week last week because we had an issue with one of our servers. And so, this company that I've been dealing with for like 20 years has decided overnight that they were stopping what they were doing.
Oh my goodness.
And so they kind of left me stranded with having to find an alternate solution very quickly. And so that was happening. And also, we had a server that broke last week. So I had to kind of move some customers from one server to another, migrate the whole thing to a new server over the weekend. So I had a stressful week. It's been like,
Well, I guess so. So how does a company just like stop? Did they give you any notice or anything, or just like stop?
no, I did not get an email or anything.
Wow.
They did not, and then something happened with a customer of mine, and I could not retrieve their domain name, and I needed this guy to um, respond so I could fix what was going on, and I was like trying to talk to them and email and message, and I tracked the guy and was sending him messages on Facebook and
Oh my.
just ignored completely, no answer, no. Eventually it got resolved because I went like over him, like I went higher
Wow.
than him, and but it was a hassle, and yeah, so just decided that he was closing shop and that that was it.
Wow. The joys of small
20
business.
years, yeah, 20 years of I almost felt like the guy died, you know? And
Wow.
it's funny because that's what we're gonna be talking about today. I
Yeah.
almost feel like I'm mourning this relationship, right? And what are we talking about today, My-Liis?
We're talking about the one kind of subject that's a little taboo, grief and grieving, and how do you deal with it, especially with Valentine's Day coming up, or any
Any
celebration.
Yeah, any celebration. So the thing is, we wanted to do this show for a while now
Yeah.
because we've both been dealing with grief, and so I've lost my mom in 2020, and then my niece lost her father in 2021, and then her son as well.
Well,
So
I'll stop you there. They say things come in threes. So I lost my dad October 3rd, my son November 24th, 33 years old, and now my sister's mother-in-law passed away February
oh,
3rd. So, you know what? They say things come in threes, so I'm like, I hope this is it for now.
right.
Yeah, so we had,
Oh, I'm sorry for her loss.
3 deaths in 4 months, so
That's a lot to handle, and
it
so
is.
we've been wanting to do this show because we wanted to do this show originally before Christmas.
Christmas,
So
yeah,
so people who are grieving at that time, it's really a hard time, Christmas time.
it is.
So we wanted to do it before Christmas. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out, but now we thought Valentine's Day coming,
Mhm.
like for your mom, your poor mom, it's going to be so hard for her on
Yeah,
Valentine's Day.
yeah,
So we're going to talk to someone who can give us some tips and solutions on how to deal with all that emotion.
yeah, exactly. Well, not only Valentine's Day, we just went through my dad's 90th birthday, which, would have happened with him here, and of course, now he's in heaven. I still wished him a happy birthday, but the thing was with my mother, how do you approach this? How do you deal with this?
Mhm.
I'm grieving too, but she's grieving the loss of a 66-year-old best friend. Like, well, he was 89, but they were together, married for 66 years, and suddenly he's gone. So again,
Yeah.
it was one of those subjects, like, what do we do? Do we still buy a cake? Do we celebrate his birthday? Is that going to really upset her? Like, there's so many questions that you don't know how to deal with somebody who's grieving. And then I'm grieving myself as well. So it's like, I think it's a good time to have a guest on the show.
So I'm going to let you introduce her. She's backstage and we're going to bring her on in a few minutes. So go ahead.
So our guest is Shannon Ball. She's the Patient and Family Supportive Services Coordinator at Care for Hospice. But that's as much as I'm going to say for introduction. So, because I'm going to have Shannon introduce herself and let us know exactly what she does there.
All right. So we'll welcome her. Hi, Shannon. Good morning.
Hi. Hi, thanks
Hi.
for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on. We've been discussing this topic for quite some time, Mai-Liis and I, wanting to speak to someone. I know that when my mom passed away, I actually saw a counselor because at some point there was too much confusing emotions because I had a very weird relationship with my mom too, so it was very confusing. So I did seek counselors, and there's a lot of help out there, and I know that Care for supports the people while they're in hospice,
Mhm.
and the family while they're in hospice. So I'm going to let you talk a little bit as to what you do.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm the patient and family supportive services counselor at the hospice in Cornwall. So a lot of my job it comes with supporting those patients and families even before they come to hospice. We have a large list of community palliative clients, and of course, at that stage, anticipatory grieving has already started for these families. So they're in need of support during that time, as well as when that time comes to actually have them admitted for end of life care. So any support that I can offer through that stage, of course, that's offered. And after the loss takes place as well, we always reach out to families after the loss to check in and to ask if they're interested in our grief support services. And that would include either one-on-one support, or we also have a couple different kinds of grief support groups as well.
I know hospice is just an awesome place because, like I told you, we experienced it very briefly with my dad. Like very briefly, a bed came available on the Saturday. We came in at 20 to 4 in the afternoon, and unfortunately, he passed at 20 past 4. That's next morning. But hospice was absolutely amazing. I have to say, we could not have done that by ourselves. You guys were just so supportive, so welcoming. Like, you took over as the caregivers and let us as the family do our job as the family instead of caregivers. It was amazing.
Yeah,
So thank you
that's one
so, so
of
much.
Of course. And that's one of the most common things we hear from families is just that role of being a caregiver is so overwhelming. And a lot of times families are in this role for months before coming here. So it's exhausting, and it's so reassuring for families to come in and just know that they're allowed to have that time to just be with them, no longer as a caregiver, but to just
Mhm.
enjoy their time with them as family members.
It makes for a much more deeper connection,
Yeah.
uh, probably a much better goodbye, I guess, eh?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
getting the
Yeah.
stuff out of the way. The
Yeah, that was definitely the one thing we found because at home we were, trying to be the caregiver and trying to be supportive, and it was, like you say, totally exhausting. So that was wonderful.
So I want to talk about okay, so when there's hospice, that is it's a place where you can set up like the stage to say your goodbyes. You're allowed to say your goodbyes. You know that this is happening. You can
Mhm.
prepare for it. My thing is, what do you do when you don't have that opportunity? So how can you cope with grief when somebody is taken away from you suddenly?
Like, for instance, my dad, we had time to prepare. He had cancer, and we knew the end was coming. But on November 24th, my 33-year-old son passed from a massive heart attack. He was there one day and then gone. No chance to say goodbye. So, like Julia asked, how do you deal with that?
It's one of those concepts where I would say even when family members know that the loss is approaching, once it takes place, there's no way to actually prepare for how you're going to feel when that person actually passes.
Mhm,
So I would say there's always that element of shock and disbelief once the death actually occurs. But like you said, when someone knows that someone's palliative, that the end of their time is coming, there is that opportunity to prepare as best as you can, in a sense, for the loss. So when you have absolutely no anticipation that a loss is going to happen, it definitely is a very unique grieving experience. And I would say in those cases, the shock and the disbelief, those emotions last a lot longer in these kinds of losses. I've had clients where even about a year after, they're still in disbelief, and there's still that element of shock that I can't believe that they're gone.
mhm,
There's no way to prepare. And so I think it just takes more time and more support, kind of working through those emotions of disbelief, shock, the element of not being able to say goodbye too.
mhm.
That's very powerful to have to go through something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest part for me is I didn't get to say goodbye. We had a conversation on the Monday, and then Tuesday early, to Wednesday early morning, he was gone. And I'm exactly like that. How could this have happened? What could also my thing was, what could we have done? Could we have seen it? Like, you're not blaming yourself, but you're guilty because you didn't see it coming, but you can't see it coming. So that's another thing. How does one deal with that kind of feeling?
Yeah.
What we
And again, I think guilt is one of the main emotions that people experience through grief, no matter what the situation is
Mhm,
surrounding the loss. But it really takes the time to actually work through those elements of what are you feeling guilty about? And again, of
mhm,
kind of observing those emotions from afar, because realistically, we know that there's nothing that we could have done. But those elements of guilt still come in. So it takes really working through it. Absolutely, I always recommend, no matter what type of loss you experience, seeing a grief counselor or someone that's their professional job, is to kind of assist people through that journey and kind of work through these elements. I would always recommend doing that, even if it's just one time seeing someone, because personal supports are great, but sometimes we don't hear the things that we sometimes are needing to hear from people that are the
mhm,
closest to us.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's sometimes the people who are closest to us are too close to us to objectively
yeah,
see the situation. And I know that seeing a counselor really, really helped me realizing why I was feeling what I was feeling. Because so I was really, really close to my dad, and when he passed away, I grieved, and it was a frustrating situation, and I didn't get to say goodbye either with
mhm,
him, but I got back on my feet, and eventually, it was okay. But with my mom, I was completely devastated, and I had no relationship with her. Like I was pretty much, um, like it was very, very complex relationship throughout our lives, but I figured out with my grief counselor that what I was grieving was not necessarily the loss of my mother, but the loss of the possibility to fix that relationship.
mhm,
And so that's why it was so hard to accept for me, because now that was it. I would not be fixing this ever again. And I'm a control freak, so so that was what I was dealing with. But yeah, no, and the grief counselor would, like, he pinpointed that thing like right away. Like he could see it right away. So yeah, I think it's a good idea to see, like you said, at least once, to
mhm.
just kind of put you on a good path and on a good track.
Yeah, because right now I think I can handle it, but I'm wondering if I even can, like you said.
And it's natural to feel that way too. You know, it's not meant to be something that's easy to deal with. And that's one of the most common things I hear from clients that I see is I just want to feel back to normal. Like and sometimes they're feeling this way only like a few months after the loss takes place. And
Hmm.
it's just kind of reassuring that the way that you're feeling right now is exactly where you need to be. And as difficult as it is, feeling the pain of the loss, that's one step that kind of pushes you to move forward. It's necessary to feel the pain of the loss.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I've been reading a lot of stuff, and people say you don't move on, you move forward. Like that person is never going to be forgotten about. You just have to move forward and find ways to cope with it. So, with Valentine's Day coming up, for somebody who's lost their partner, what kind of, or any celebration, like what kind of pointers do you have? Like, how does one deal with that? How does the grieving person deal with it?
I think everybody's experience and their grieving situation is so unique. So I think open communication, that's one of the best tools that people and family members can have with each other because it's difficult enough navigating our own grief experiences, but having to consider how those around us are grieving as well, and the family, friends, that can become very messy, especially when you have one person that it's very important for them to be able to incorporate the person that's passed into these anniversary dates. They want to talk about them, they want to include them somehow. Versus someone else maybe on a little bit of a different timeline, and it's like too difficult for them to openly discuss at that point, right?
Mhm.
So it's having that open communication and trying to find a balance between what works for everyone too, while also saying, okay, maybe with the family we can approach it this way, but me personally, I still need to have these rituals for myself, right? It doesn't have to be everybody included in your grieving ritual if they're not ready for it.
Hmm.
So I think having that open communication, asking the people around you, what would you like to do, is that's one of the best tools that people can utilize is communication.
Hmm.
Yeah, you're right. Because my dad's 90th birthday just passed. He passed when he was 89, 4 months before his 90th. So we kept my mother busy that weekend to try and take her mind off it. And then, the day of his birthday came, and I'm like, how do we celebrate this? Get a cake, say happy birthday, dad, something like that. We didn't do it because we weren't sure. Like,
Yeah.
say, for me, that's kind of how I would have approached it with my mother. I don't think that was what she would have had in mind because she's still really grieving this. So again, like you said, open communication because you really don't know how to do it.
So, do you
Exactly.
think you could have asked your mom, My-Liis, what she wanted to do?
I think looking back now, I should have, but again, it was one of these subjects that I didn't really know what to
It's
do.
so uncomfortable.
It is. It's a subject you don't want to talk about. I actually asked Merica. I said, "What do you think?" My sister. I said, "What do you think we should do?" So what we ended up doing for dessert, we didn't have birthday cake. We had like fresh berries instead. We did something like my hubby said, "Let's do something completely different. Start something, new." Because
Yeah.
again, I should have asked her, but I didn't think to do that because it was so. I
Well,
don't know.
it's kind of I get what you say about open communication, but it's kind
Mm,
of you're like, okay, well, am I going to stir up a whole bunch of things if I ask,
yeah.
So,
It's
but
it's it's one of those topics where it's kind of like walking on eggshells a little bit. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's just kind of the death denying culture that we all live in. So it's a touchy subject to bring up. Unfortunately, but it's also one of those things where at least asking the question, then you kind of know where that other person's at. as difficult as it can be sometimes. But also, the fact that you weren't able to ask at that point, you have to also be gentle with yourself too, because you're going through those emotions just as much in a different way, different relationship, but it's difficult to discuss those hard topics.
I like the term you used, debt denying culture.
Yeah.
We are pretty much in a debt denying culture. Do you think it would be beneficial to um, move from that kind of culture? Do you think that if we embrace death, grief would be easier?
I think absolutely it would make grieving a lot less stigmatized. I think when people see their loved ones going through a loss, in a way, it's difficult for people to talk about. It's difficult for people to offer support just because they don't know what to say to make it better for that person. There's no quick fix to grief. And us as humans, we really crave to have that quick fix for things. We don't like seeing the people that
Yeah.
we love in pain. So it's such a difficult thing for people to support others that are grieving, because there is no quick fix. I think also when we see our loved ones going through a loss, it's also that harsh reminder for us to say that could be me. It's so universal, grief and loss. It makes us uncomfortable seeing other people experience it because it makes us think subconsciously that could be me, that could be my loved one.
Not only that, but it also throws your own mortality in your
Mm.
face, so you
Absolutely.
deal with that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can be here one day and gone the next. Nobody knows, right?
yeah,
And that's why, as hard as it is with my son, because in my opinion and everybody's opinion, a child should not go before their parents. He was only 33. It's like he hadn't even lived half his life. How's this possible? But then, like somebody else had said, God's already planned that date for him. God already knew, that that was his time, and there was nothing you can do about it. That's the way I have to kind of deal with it right now, because I'm not dealing with it very well. Like, he shouldn't be gone. He should still be here.
Mhm. But
So,
I would definitely say, try not to have that perspective on it, the fact that you're not dealing with it very well, because again, like you're where you're at right now for a reason,
mhm,
and it's your own process, to try not to be judgmental with ourselves. I try to tell people to look at it like if your best friend was going through this experience, would we be saying to them, you're not dealing with it very well, or would we
yeah,
be supporting them through it, you know?
yeah,
yeah.
you're right. We are hard on ourselves, actually.
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely. And there is no right or wrong way of doing it. There is no I should be here or I should be there. You are where you are
Yeah,
because that's where you're supposed to be. That's your process.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
another question for you, Shannon, is there are there things that you should, as somebody outside of the grief, um is there stuff that you should not say to somebody who's grieving?
That's a good question. That's
Hmm.
something actually that comes up at our support groups very often. And again, it's such a unique experience for people. And I think that's again why people find supporting people that are grieving kind of uncomfortable, because you don't know sometimes what people are going to take offense to, what's right, what's
Hmm.
wrong. Just an example of that would be, I've had someone in our support group, someone said to them, they're no longer suffering anymore. To some people, that would be very comforting and they would kind of feel that way as well. And other people, they really take offense to that statement and say, he's not suffering, but the place where they should be is with me.
Hmm.
It's not that they're in a better place. The better place was here with me. So it's so personal how people view these specific statements.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it also probably depends on faith and
Hmm.
Yes,
um
for sure.
I know one cuz so my process through life, like I was very Christian when my father passed away, and not so much when my mom passed away. Like, I kind of lost faith along the way. Um, and I know, I'm sure that one of the reasons that it was much easier with my dad is because I had faith.
Mhm.
Life was much easier when I had faith. But so yeah, it's just, it probably depends on where you're at, spiritually, where you're at, mentally, where you're at. There's a whole bunch of variables.
Yes, a lot of factors for sure that play into how we perceive our own losses and existentially what we believe in too. There's a
Mhm.
lot of different factors for sure.
Yeah, because we really don't know. My biggest thing is whenever my son was alive, I could pick the phone up, I could Facebook chat him. I always knew where he was, right? Now it's like I have no idea where he is. Where has he gone? Like, and that's kind of really a weird thing that I think about. I don't know where he is. I like to think that he's, in a place where it's bright and warm and he has no worries and he's with my dad, but it's the unknown. Nobody knows where he really is. So how do people deal with that part?
I think with that element specifically, it's people's own perception of
Mhm.
what, like, there's nothing universally solid that we know once someone passes, this is where we go, right? And that's something that can
Mhm.
be very difficult for people, but it's something I think changes as our grieving changes, as we move through that process. It's not just going to stay the same of what our beliefs are around that. It'll change as we grieve.
Hmm. Yeah, grief changed my perception of, like, one of the reasons my faith went down is because of grief.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, yeah, that's my little path, I guess. Some people, it brings them closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, to go back to Valentine's Day, and what would you suggest a person who has just lost someone, and is completely lost? Um, how would you suggest they handle Valentine's Day?
So I think it really depends where that person is in their grief. If they just recently went through a loss, of course things are going to be a lot more intense. Usually, if it's a very fresh loss, but I always say to people, don't force yourself if you're really not feeling seeing people or going out or doing anything in particular. Why would we force ourselves to do that if it's not going to help us or bring us some sort of peace doing it? So I would just say try not to have expectations for yourself. I would
Mhm.
say a lot of the time the anticipation of these anniversary dates are worse than actually when the day approaches. That's I hear that from a lot of people that's their experience. That's it's really the anticipation can be a lot worse than actually facing it the day of. I would say if you are planning on seeing people or doing something, always have kind of an escape plan in mind. If you get somewhere and
Mhm.
you're not happy, you don't want to be there, have a little escape plan in mind. Let people know you're not sure how long you're going to stay for. You're going to try it out, see how it goes, and if you're not feeling it, there's no shame in leaving early as well.
Hmm. We have a comment from a viewer here. Ina says, I lost a 17-year-old nephew tragically several years ago. My grief changed me in a profound way. Yeah, that's how I feel about my dad's death too. It really changed me in a profound way. I went through a lot of anger too because it was totally avoidable. So there
Mhm.
was that kind of dealing, but yeah, it is. And my least, you were saying about getting prepared before, and how, when they have cancer, you can prepare, and your dad, for example. But um with my mom, I knew she was gonna die at some point because she had
Mhm.
cancer as well, and she was in the hospital. Okay, Google, stop. Sorry about that. um so um and we were just about to move her from the hospital where she was at to Cornwall. We were talking to a hospice to see if they would make an exception. Anyways, they had given her 3 months. She was getting bad, but she had to be in palliative care, and she was going to transfer here.
Mhm.
Anyways, we were that was over the weekend. They were making the procedures to try to move her here, and then she just passed away from Sunday to Monday. Like,
Yeah.
they had just said like 3 months, and then she just died suddenly overnight. So I did not get to say goodbye either. But
Yes.
yeah,
Absolutely. It's that, like that comment said, it is a profound loss, and people can kind of look at their lives and say, this is who I was before this loss happened, and this is who I am after the loss.
exactly.
It really does. It changes us. It changes how we see the world, how we
Mhm.
see our own lives. It impacts us in every way that it can, and just like you said, that not being able to say goodbye,
Yeah.
um, very similar with how my dad passed, and that is definitely a factor that impacted my grieving, that we need to spend time working through those aspects of the experience too.
Absolutely. So where can somebody go if they need help? Do you have suggestions for grief counselors, or what resources can they tap into?
So I know the hospice in Cornwall absolutely offers grief support. You don't necessarily have to have your loved one connected to the hospice to receive grief supports. It
Mhm.
really depends on the circumstances of the loss. If it was a traumatic loss where maybe extra support is needed, we can refer to other community resources. But in general, the hospice is one of the key places in our area that offer grief supports. Of course, bereaved families is a really good resource as well. I think they're working on opening that back up in Cornwall, which is amazing.
Okay.
Hmm.
But yeah, I would say if people are looking for supports, the hospice would be a great place to start. See if it's appropriate for our services, and if not, of course, we can refer to what's most appropriate for people.
And what's the contact information to get a hold of somebody at hospice?
So the number for hospice is 613-938-2763. My personal extension is 4142, and my email is sball@carefor.ca.
Perfect.
I'm going to post that in the chat box
And
if
then, of
somebody
course,
needs it.
you can probably go on the care on the hospice's website too, right? So what is
Absolutely.
that?
It's careforhospice.ca, I believe. We also have a Facebook page
Okay.
that can directly take people to our website as well.
Perfect. Well,
Perfect.
I want to thank you so much for being with us this morning, to help us talk about this difficult topic. You were
Mhm.
great, and I hope you enjoy your day.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And anything in the future, I think this is such an important topic for people. So,
Absolutely.
any time you'd like to have me, of course.
Sounds good.
Wonderful.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
So much.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Well, that was great.
It was, and I know like it's Monday morning motivation, and that's not quite the subject that you want to talk about, but it was good that we did it in like a casual way because it is a hard subject. I mean, I'm grieving my dad, I'm grieving my son, and then at the same time, I'm helping my mother to go through her grieving process. And it's really hard because sometimes you're not sure if you're saying or doing the right thing,
Hmm.
so
I really
it is
wonder.
important.
I really wonder what part of the grieving process is dictated by society and how we
Hmm.
deal with that and how we are told that we should feel when somebody dies.
Hmm.
Like I wonder, like, this is profound and very, you know hypothetical and deep,
Mhm.
but I wonder if we were actually throwing a party when somebody dies rather than being all gloomy, if we were like celebrating that they're gone to a new world where
Yeah.
everything is beautiful and like I don't know, like I'm just wondering how mentally it would be different. Like I know that some parts like you can't avoid feeling sad when somebody leaves
Yeah.
because this world because but I wonder if we saw this as taking a trip to Paris for 10 years or moving to
Mhm.
Paris, like you wouldn't be like crying and but yeah, I guess you're
You
still
you would
can
miss
talk
that.
to that person, so it's kind of
Yeah,
irrelevant really
it's
because
just the fact that I can't reach out and pick the phone up and dial his number, that kind of thing, and hear his voice. But this is really, really weird because, as you know, my son was in Calgary and often forgot about the time difference of 2 hours. So it would maybe be midnight there, but 2 o'clock here, and all of a sudden the phone would ring. So, what are you doing, Mom?
I'm sleeping.
Sleeping. But lately, I know sometimes people get ringing in their ears, and it's called, I think, tinnitus or
Tinnitus,
something. I know
yeah, I
my
had that.
brother-in-law has it. He's a trucker, and I think from the engine for the last, what, 30, 40 years. But I get this ringing, and it sounds like my phone because
Okay.
it's like an old-fashioned ringing, and it's in my ear, and it's not all the time, Julie. It's like, and it's not loud, like, it's just there. So I'm like, "Christian, are you trying to call me?" It's
Oh,
kind of a comforting thought because it's almost like that's the ringing that I would hear in the middle of the night when I was sleeping, so it was kind of, oh, right to him. Yeah, and that's what I did when he passed. When we went for the visitation, it was just a small family service because it was in Calgary. I wrote a letter before we left, and I wrote him how I felt, and I put it in his pocket. So I sent it off
oh,
with him, and it made me feel better, and my 2 little grandsons did the same. They went, and I didn't even say anything. They saw me put something in his pocket, and they went and got paper, and they wrote to Uncle Christian, like, how much they missed him and stuff, and put it
oh,
in his pocket, and they're 7 and 9, and it was amazing. Like,
yeah,
they really needed that closure. But yeah,
yeah.
that's what I did. I wrote.
I um I still text my mom on Facebook,
I
so
did that. Yeah.
yeah, I
It's
I send her messages sometimes. I just
yeah.
say, "Oh, I'm getting teary-eyed now."
Yeah, and I'm doing the same with Christian,
Yeah,
and it makes you feel better, and even though they can't respond, it makes you feel better because I believe they can still hear us. They can still, communicate with us, but in a different way. And
mm,
I know Katrina was saying, my daughter was saying she has my son's phone, and when he passed, my 2 grandsons were texting him too.
aw,
Because they felt they still had that connection. She said it was really sad to read what they wrote because they
aw,
were really, really upset. Uncle Christian was the hero,
yeah,
but just the fact that they could still communicate with him was a
mhm,
big help, just like you said.
yeah, yeah, wouldn't it be something if, a message come back though?
I'm always thinking about that. Like, I have no idea, no idea what I would do.
You'd be floored. Well, it's kind of weird because my mother-in-law passed away in 2019, I believe it was,
Mhm,
and my father-in-law had access to her account,
mhm.
and so at some point, stuff started popping on the internet with her name on it, and
Oh
everybody
my
was
goodness.
freaking out like, that it
Oh
was
my
him
goodness.
using her account. So he started signing his name at the end when he uses her account. He signs Louis because
Yeah, that would be a better idea because that would scare me.
at the
What
first few times he did it, it was kind of like people were freaking out, like what the hell.
exactly, but you know what I freaked out about the other day? This person that I know has been passed away for, I think, 4 years, and they sent me a friend request. I
Oh
think that
God.
is just horrible.
Yeah,
when
that
somebody
was a
hacks into somebody's account like that, and you know for
yeah,
a fact that they passed away, that was, I mean, this person that hacked into it obviously didn't know,
yeah,
or maybe they did, but that was kind of scary.
yeah, yeah, that would be kind of,
Yeah.
eerie for sure. Alright,
Anyway,
so
we don't want to talk about that kind of dreary thing. I did find our
oh, a
dog
little
with
dog, oh,
flowers.
isn't he cute?
I found it. We used to use that when we kind of veer off a positive subject and you start getting a little not positive. So we would use our little dog picture. I
Yep.
found him.
Alright, so, guess at this point, it would be time for
For
the Monday morning munchies or taste test. Monday munchies taste test. I
Mon
always have
Mon
a hard time saying what it is because it's a mouthful.
yeah, we came up with something really cute and snazzy and we can't even
I'm
say it.
gonna let you talk about it while I go get it.
Oh, okay. So I'm prepared for this, but so I was out about a week or so ago and I came across these little guys. So what they are, they're straws and they're filled with little beads and they've got different flavors in them. So basically, you get a glass of milk and you have your straw, and then you suck the milk through the straw, and this flavor is supposed to burst into your mouth. So this one is fruity cereal flavor. It comes with one, two, three, four, five little straws, and you can see they have little tiny beads in them, which is the cereal flavor. So we'll try that one. And then this other one that I picked up, this is actually, I thought it was Spider-Man or Superman or something. Looks like it's some kind of dinosaur. This one is cookies and cream flavor. So I think there was about 6 different flavors to choose from, but I thought these were kind of interesting. And I noticed this one is gluten-free.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a bonus as well. I'm gonna look at the ingredients. I'm always scared to look at ingredients as in case it has stuff in it that we're not supposed to, like my mom says, if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. So the fruity cereal flavor has sugars, sugar, glucose syrup, dextrose, natural flavors, colors, turmeric, which is interesting because
Ooh.
turmeric, yeah, it's got turmeric in it, and that is like an anti-inflammatory.
Mm-hmm.
This one, I'm not sure how to say it. Cochineal and erythrocine. I don't like those two things because I can't really say them. And I want to just look at the other one, the cookies and cream. It's got sugar, glucose syrup, cocoa powder, artificial flavor, natural colors. Oh, well, this doesn't sound good. Titanium dioxide.
Oh shoot. What
I'm
the
not
hell is that?
I don't really know if I like the sound of that one, but that's cookies and cream. So which are you
Okay.
opening first?
Well, I got my 2 straws ready to go right here.
All right.
So
Ooh,
whichever you want to try first. I
so
love how they hide on behind like artificial flavors. How the
yeah,
heck am I gonna open this? You need a pair of scissors for this.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, because I thought maybe you could like squeeze it, because obviously it's got to be it's held together, because otherwise the little things oh, wait a minute,
Yeah,
would fall
I
right out of
think
it.
I need scissors. I'll be right back.
Okie dokie. Yeah, so you've got that one. That is the fruity cereal. And this one is the cookies and cream. So you see the little beads. I'm gonna feel like a little child sucking through these straws, I think. They look very interesting. I got these at the Dollar Tree, but I'm wondering if we can get them somewhere locally too. Like I'd like to look at Happy Popcorn because they have moved now. They've moved from where they were, where Mustache Joe's was, across to where Bicycle World was. I believe it's 150 Pitt Street. I'm just saying, I'm
You
wondering if
you
you
know,
can pick
uh,
these up at Happy Popcorn.
I don't know, but I'm thinking you don't need to cut it, because if you cut it, then it's all gonna fall in the milk. I think
Oh,
the
you know
goal is
what?
to sip through it.
Look inside, Julia. There's some little tiny holes.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I
So you
think you
just sip
sip through
through
it.
it. All right. So which one do you want to sip through? Like, I'm such an idiot.
Let's Yeah, I know, me too, because I had my my
My kids would
scissors
have
here.
known this.
I would have
Yeah, I
cut it
went
too,
to
and they would
fetch
have all
mine too.
fallen on the table. Okay,
Okay. So which one do you
cookies
want to
and
try?
cream.
Cookies and
Cookies and
cream with
cream.
the aluminum or whatever it was called, dioxide,
Titanium.
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 Okay.
Isn't
Let's
that
try
the
the
thing that you
titanium.
put on the inside of the
Yeah,
saucepans and stuff?
something like that.
Oh my god.
Aina asks if it's made in China. Is it made in China?
I don't know. Can you see anything?
If it's made in China, I'm not sure I want to.
Uh,
Mississauga, Mississauga, Ontario. Okay, I'm
yes.
a little reassured.
Okay.
Okay, let's try cookies and cream.
Okay, perfect.
Mm.
Mm.
Oh, that's good.
Don't you feel like a kid?
Yes,
I'm
I
like a
do.
big kid. Mm.
That is good.
The first taste you kind of tasted more the milk, but the more you sip on it,
It's like I dunked an Oreo in my milk.
mm. Wow, I like that.
That's good. I like it.
Yeah, isn't that different? Mm.
It's kind of cool. All right.
So I have a second glass of milk. I hope you bought two separate
No,
glasses.
I'm just going to use the same one.
Okay.
It's just the straw. All right, let's go.
Okay.
What flavor is that one?
Fruity cereal.
Oh, like Fruit Loops.
Mm. So at first you just taste the milk. Mm.
Tastes like Fruit Loops.
Mm-hmm. When you go back, it does taste like Fruit Loops.
Mm. I like the cookies and creams better.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, see, it all kind of disappears,
Dissolves. Yeah,
dissolves. But what a way to! Well, I mean, it's not the best way to make children drink milk because it's
I like the
like
cookies and cream.
sugar. Mm.
I guess the titanium gives it all the flavor.
I'm back
Mm,
on the cookies.
so am I.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah,
my kids are gonna love the rest of the straws,
cookies
because
and
I'm
cream.
not gonna. I'm
Yeah,
more of a coffee person myself, but
yeah, me too. I'm not really sure if if that's for me, but it's a neat little thing. I might have to put that in one of my little care packages to
we're
send to
glowing
Calgary.
now. She said it's a titanium. We're glowing
Yeah,
now.
I think so. It's because we
Very
feel
funny.
like little kids.
Yeah. No, I think it's a titanium.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. But it's funny because when you drink it, it kind of
It melts.
blends in, it melts,
Yeah.
and then it just kind of sits back and it hardens up again. That's the titanium in it. Although this one did the same thing. See, it's still
Yeah. Yeah.
wow.
Well, interesting. Very, very interesting.
So as always, guys, if you have anything that you would like us to taste locally, because really this is about promoting local. So if you have anything in mind that you think we should taste, let us know and let us know where to get it and we'll go purchase it. And we would love to let people know ahead of time what we're tasting so that you can taste it with us and give your comments.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, what was your one to 10 for the cookies and cream one?
Oh, I'd give it a like my 10-year-old self would say 10.
And your 11-year-old self says no.
10 as well. 18-year-old maybe, 6, 7, but no, for kids, like I'm sure they would love that.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I
Yeah.
just wouldn't want to give them too much of it, but
No, no. Well, I don't think like how much sugar is there in one of
oh,
those straws?
I
Does it
wonder.
say anywhere?
I'm just
Nutrition. I don't even see a nutrition.
Oh, it says for nutritional information, email or write to.
Okay.
So once they've
Oh,
got
the fruity ones do have nutrition.
Oh, do they? Oh, yes, they do.
And it says
What's your
sugars,
sugar?
sugars.
5.6 grams.
That's not bad.
No, it isn't actually. There's no fiber, unfortunately. Sugar is 5.6, protein is 0, and fat is 0. Calories 24, so
I see, Linda. My
wow.
64-year-old child would love it.
It is actually it is quite good. It's just cute.
Yeah, it is.
It definitely made us smile this morning.
Hmm. So, okay, suggestions for next week, people, just send it over to info@theseeker.ca, or you can also just text us on Facebook. Give us your suggestions because we would like to, today is Monday, so we would like to get um, select an item by tomorrow so we can start
Hmm.
publicizing it and letting people know that we're going to be trying that item, and then you can try it with us on Monday.
Yeah, and get your comments as well. I think that would be neat.
And things are slowly reopening. So if you have any events happening in the near future, you can go on our calendar at theseeker.ca, click on events, and then you can submit your events and they will be put in our calendar of events. Yeah, things are slowly reopening. I saw this morning that they're easing up the restrictions on long-term care,
Hmm.
so people are going to be able to start going to visit again.
Good, good.
Hmm. All right. Do you have anything else, My-Liis, or
I'm uh, I'm trying to see if there's anything that has come up, but like I say, there's still it's very very slow process. People starting to post events again. So the Cornwall Township Lions Club in Bonneville, they're starting their breakfast February the 6th, which would have been this Saturday. I think, yeah, this past Saturday. So you can go have your breakfast from 8 to noon. Again, there. For information, call 932-9396. Um, like I say, there's only a few little things like that. Yeah, I don't really think there's much else.
yeah, I know that La Maison and the Port Theater are going to start having their events again soon, so that's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah, and actually, we did have one event in our let me just find it. Isn't that awful? I can't think. It's I think it's at the Atlantic Pub in Alexandria. They're starting jam nights
Okay.
again on Thursday evening. So
Excuse me.
it would be nice to get back to at least 1 or 2 pages of calendar in our March issue. I
Your
just so miss
grandson
that.
is your grandson is sending you a message, My-Liis. I love you,
Oh,
Grandma.
I love Rowan. Yeah, save the date every Thursday from 7 to 11. Jam nights at the Atlantic Pub in Alexandria. They're starting that again. So,
Okay. The
so
February Seeker is out. You can come and get your copy in the distribution box at the office at 327 2nd Street East. The distribution box is on the side of the building. You can
yeah,
just grab your copy right there. We're working on the March issue now. So if you have anything for us for the March issue, you can send it out to
the
info@theseeker.ca.
and the Flip magazine is Women in Business. This one was Love is in the Air. Of course, for February, it's going to be women in business, women entrepreneurs, right?
For March,
For
yes.
March.
Yes.
And the distribution box on 2nd Street, if you're up in the West End, there's a distribution box on the side of my railing at 319 4th Street West as well. So if you're at this end, come by and pick one up in there as well.
All right. Well, that's it for us for today. So I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day.
And a super duper week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.